Tech Yeah Podcast.
That's pretty good.
And now, live from Tech Yeah Studios 2B, it's Bill and Tony's Tech Yeah Podcast.
It's not called Bill and Tony's Tech Yeah Podcast. For one, it would be called Tony and Bill's. And for two,
You always go in alphabetical
it's
order.
just
Are you
called
kidding?
Anthony and Bill's Tech Yeah
Oh,
Podcast.
you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. I knew you'd pull that Anthony crap.
It's just called Tech Yeah Podcast anyway.
No.
We don't need our
It's fine.
monikers on there.
Happy-
Although my moniker's Tech Yeah Tony, so
Yeah, that's
I'm
true.
easy to find.
Happy week to you, Tony.
Happy week to you, William.
How's your week been?
It's been okay. I'm like full force into the sleeping machine life.
Yeah, has that improved your life at all?
No. Well, I don't know. Like, it's really hard to measure, right? Because you don't really monitor your own sleep very well. I should probably start wearing like a Fitbit again so I can see if it. I'll tell you this: before, Fitbits would say I never slept, like it wouldn't register any sleep.
Wow.
So I guess I'd be interested to see if I wore it now, if it did register any
Mm-hmm.
sleep. Like I just know from doing my study that like even as bad as it was during my study, I slept better under the machine than I did without the machine.
Okay.
And I will say now, like,
Are you sleeping with it consistently now?
Since
Yeah.
I got it, I've just been like, I gotta force myself to do it every
So
time.
do you feel better in general?
I never feel better. I quit smoking and was like, what a waste of time. Like,
Still feel like crap.
well, it does. It's, everyone kind of gives you this like, oh, you quit smoking, you feel so much better. I just smell stinky shit more. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm less immune to the terrible smells, and I've gained like 20 pounds. That's probably more than that. That's pretty much the epitome of what's happened since I quit smoking. I'm not like,
You have a heightened sense of smell and you're fatter.
and I'm fatter. Yeah, I don't have a better lung capacity. Food doesn't taste better. I guess I'm less stinky. It's easier to get dates, I guess.
Yeah, your half marathon times haven't plummeted as a
No.
result or anything.
No, I guess girls who also end up being smokers, but they don't say so on dating profiles, are more inclined to go on a date with me when
Gotcha.
they secretly reveal that they smoke, but say they don't smoke and say they won't date a smoker.
Yeah.
So those things are cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, I will say this: the one thing I do notice is when I wake up in the morning, I'm like way more out of it than I've ever felt before. So I think it's because I'm getting into deeper levels of sleep.
Yeah.
That when I come out of
body's-
it in the morning, I'm just like, bleh,
Your
like.
body's probably adjusting to sleeping for the first time
And I
in a
think
while.
that's what normal people feel like in the morning. They're like, oh, I'm a zombie. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to open my eyes.
Yeah.
Where normally in the morning for me, I'm just like, I guess I'll get out of bed. Like, that's really kind of the mentality when I wake up usually.
Yeah.
So I think it's a more appropriate feeling in the morning.
Well, right on.
Yeah, other than that, actually, you know what? I kind of want to talk about Postmates.
Okay.
Did you ever use Postmates?
No.
Well, this is going to be a one-sided conversation.
Well, no, it's great because how many people are listening to this that haven't that would need? I'll be like the what is it? The exposition character. Like,
Yeah.
what's that? Like, well, come on, you know that it's.
So have you ever used Postmates?
No, I have not. What is
You
Postmates?
just set this up, and you're like, nope.
What is Postmates, Tony?
Postmates is a food delivery service where they go into agreements with local restaurants to offer delivery service of foods that don't normally deliver. So today I had Denny's for lunch,
Dude, oh my god.
delivered via Postmates. It was free. I got an omelet.
I was just gonna say, dude, I don't know if smoking was the reason you gained more than 20 pounds. If you're getting Denny's delivered to you,
It was an omelet. It was delicious. It's low carb. How dare you? But I only got it 'cause it was free, to be honest with you. But the delivery. But the thing about Postmates that drives me crazy is, for one, like, it's like Uber. It's like a nameless internet company. Like, you don't call anybody. You know what I mean? Like, the driver shows up, they have no idea like what's going on. And I've had this issue with Uber too, where something goes wrong and you're just like, there's no one to call. Like, there's no customer service. You just gotta like tweet them and be like, hey, at fucking
Your
Postmates.
driver just punched me in the throat.
Yeah. Hey, at Postmates,
I can't find him.
just didn't get my food. What the hell? They're just like, oh, DM us, and you're like, come on. But I guess that's kind of what I was gonna say. Is like the weirdest thing to me about Postmates is it's this transaction where the only person that cares if it's right is you. You know what I mean? Like literally right now, the driver just handed me like 4 bags of Chinese food, and I'm like, this isn't my food. Like I've ordered lunches for myself, and he's like, oh, Denny's, right? I'm just like, yeah. And he hands me my food, and he just looks at me. He's like, you almost came up, and I was just like, God. I was like, why don't you just say like sorry and like, you know, like I'm glad we got it right. You know what it's just like and I've had like so many of these instances where Postmates where they've delivered me food. I've been like, this is wrong. They're like, nope, it's right. And they like drive off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we can, it's a perfect topic because I have a news story that actually is kind of connected to that world a little bit that we can talk about it later.
Let's interject and you tell me about your week and then we'll get into that.
Well, it's been a short week since our last recording.
Oh yeah, we recorded on Sunday.
Yeah, so not a lot has really happened.
So much has happened though.
So as you're hearing this, probably my dad was in town last week, and we had a great time this weekend.
Thanks for listening, buddy. We love it.
Yeah. So he, I don't know if he's gonna listen to this or not. I'm just gonna go into this.
I hear he's the real master of technology.
Yeah. So
touch everything you know.
Yeah. This is so. I don't know what topic we were talking about, but we were mentioning baby boomers being afraid of technology, and I had mentioned that my dad happens to be one of those.
Something we were talking about on the podcast previously.
Yeah,
and his dad heard it.
Yeah, and so he kind of, jokingly took offense. It was like so you think I'm afraid of technology, huh? Okay. It was one of those like where he's actually offended by it, but kind of playing it off. So he drove down from Seattle to LA on Sunday and Monday. And I told him, I was like, hey, when you get into LA, don't just take the 5 all the way into Orange County. It's going to be a disaster towards the end of the day. So I go take the 210 to the 57, and then take the 57 to the 5 for a little bit, and 55 will take you right into Newport Beach. And he was like, "Okay, well, just call me tomorrow when I'm on my way, and I'll figure it out." So I ended up calling him a little bit later than I wanted to, and he's like, "Oh, I figured it. I'm on the 210 now. I saw it on the map and figured it out." I was like, "You saw it on the map?" He's like, yeah, when I pulled over and got gas, I pulled out my atlas and I could see where it routes around. And this is like awesome. This is really great. I'm like, you pulled out an atlas? You pulled out a map?
A literal map.
Yeah. And I was like, why didn't you use your phone? You have a smartphone. He's like, well, I didn't plug it in. I didn't want it to run out of batteries. It's like,
your dad is like a flight sim dork, but in a car.
It's like, didn't you plug in? Like, you don't have a plug for your phone? He's like, no, I haven't done that yet. I go, well, your phone has a GPS. I don't know how to use that. You can show me when I get there. I'm like, how are you going to get here?
He's a man of technology. Okay. That's how he's going to get there.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny. Like a few days after him bringing up not being afraid of technology, he used a map.
Maps are a technology too.
Maps at one point was technology.
It was the cutting edge technology.
You go from using stars to maps.
Yeah, with like one of those compass things.
You kidding me? Yeah.
Is that a compass?
That is.
I'm doing like a little V with my fingers because I'm putting the point down in one spot and then I'm triangulating.
I think that would be called a compass.
It's a compass in math.
Yeah.
When you're drawing circles and stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's like.
But I feel like it's got a different name in cartography.
Yeah, I
feel
like
right. Pirates have a different name for it.
I think pirates would have a different name for it. Pirates have a lot of different names for other things too.
Yeah, pointy V. That's the worst. I'm sorry. Everyone listening right now, I just want to apologize formally for doing that terrible pirate voice.
Yeah, really bad pirate voice. All right. So speaking of pirates, let's go to the San Francisco Chronicle, however you want to say it.
It's the Chronicle. What?
All right. This is a news story that, going back to what Tony was talking about with Postmates, it's Uber and Lyft in crosshairs of gig work bill that would make drivers employees. California businesses are jostling to get exemptions from the upcoming law that would drastically reshape employment for hundreds of thousands of workers, turning them into employees rather than independent contractors, and adding to the costs of hiring them. That law, Assembly Bill 5, is moving forward with exceptions for some professions, but not for gig economy companies, as well as a range of other industries that say their bottom lines will suffer.
Did I ever tell you I used to drive Uber and
No.
Lyft? That's it. That's the whole story.
Okay, that's a good story. California Supreme Court set forth a 3-part standard called ABC test that says a worker is an independent contractor only if all of these apply. A is control. The company hiring the worker does not direct how the work is performed. B, scope. The work is in a field different from the hiring company's business. And C, independence. The worker runs a business doing the same kind of work performed for the hiring company.
Wait, what's the third one?
The worker runs a business doing the same kind of work performed for the hiring company. So if
they
you're
have an independent
so if
business.
you're an electrician and you get hired as a contractor, you can't have a business making guitars.
No, you can't be hired as an independent contractor making guitars. You have to be an electrician.
You have to be an electrician. Yeah. So that is a very specific that's kind of what the bill is made for, is excluding painters and plumbers and anyone that what's another.
I think it's too prohibitive. I'll be honest.
It's way
the
too
language
prohibitive.
is way too prohibitive. Like that's when you even when you read the first one, I'm like, well, that's nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's no like it. If we're going to have a system in place where people can be hired as independent, I don't mind forcing Uber and Lyft to treat these people as employees. I don't think that's unfair. But the way that's phrased, it seems to want to completely demolish exclusions for independent contractors.
Yeah.
Or contract employees in general.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do my typical thing, like relating this to the big T, to technology.
Well, it's very tech related.
It's very tech related, but I have a feeling the impacts of this, like my feelings on this story are beyond the tech part of it, but just from the tech side of it, with the ubiquity of smartphones and apps to be able to do something like order lunch, get a ride. There's like massage ones.
That's all you can think of is get a ride.
Get a ride and get a lunch. Those are the main. Those are the two main companies. You got Airbnb. That's another one, which really isn't necessarily a gig economy kind of thing. But there's I know there's a massage one. Like you can look up apps for an in-home masseuse, and you can click it.
Check that out.
Pretty sweet. There's some NFL owners that might dig that service.
Sign me up.
You don't have to go to a sleazy strip mall.
Or maybe, you do. Whatever.
It's probably part of the allure to that.
Probably is part of the allure. Get out of your beds in the strip mall.
So when those things first came out, when Uber first came out, the attraction to it was obviously one, the ease of use. It was super easy to call up a car, but it was super cheap.
Yeah.
And the only reason it's cheap is because they have no to low overhead.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've noticed it in the couple of Uber Lyft rides that I've gotten in the last few months, is that it is a lot more expensive than it used to be.
Yeah, you almost have to use the downgraded services to get a price comparable to what you like. You have to be like, well, I guess I'm okay with sharing a ride if someone else comes, and
right.
You really got to kind of jump through hoops to get.
Yeah. So I took an Uber from Julia's work to John Wayne, which is like a mile and a half.
Yeah, it's not
and
fun.
it was like $12. And it used to be, like $5 or $6.
Mm-hmm.
And you're more likely to not use that service or look for a different service that is cheaper, or, call a friend, because before it was such a I'll just Uber. Like, no problem, I'll just Uber. Like, it was such a non-expense relative to most other options that you'd use it a lot more, and that helped their growth.
If you're planning to go out, the $7 Uber to start the night was not even
nothing.
part of your calculation.
Yeah, it wasn't even part of the thing. I got it.
Yeah.
You would just like, there's no like, hey, Venmo me, then we'll split it. Like
yeah.
now it's, 18, 25, whatever the price is. And it's like, well, I've only had a couple of drinks, so I'm going to, save the $25 or $50 down and back to pick the car back up or something.
Here's a tip. Always be generous on the way there. So it's always more expensive on the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I'll cover this one. And then when you guys are going home, be like, oh, you want to pick up this Uber?
That's a good call later in the night. That's sneaky. So this is, I get what they're trying to do here, because they're,
Is that just in San Francisco?
It's a California bill. Yeah. It's a California bill, which, unfortunately tends to be the beacon in which the rest of the country follows.
I will tell you, I don't think this bill will pass because it will negatively impact too many other subsets of the market, right? Like even we as a company, up until this year, just hired, not we as in tech, yeah, we as in the company we work for.
Tech, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Just hired a lot of our independent contractors full time, but up until that point, a lot of our writing, and even currently, we contract out some of our writing to writers. And I would say a lot of those people probably couldn't say they operate a business writing outside of the contracting they do, right? So if all they do is contract writing, does that mean they have a writing business, or does that mean that they have to be made a full-time employee, right? You know what like if you don't have an FBN and a legitimate business for the service, and you can't afford the overhead of maintaining a business for the service, like, can you still be hired as a contractor? It sounds like no. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that
yeah, and you know how much California charges you to set up your own business? Like, this is just, it's so dirty. Shocker. There's just, the bureaucracy is choking business.
Yeah, I just think it's the impacts of this are far reaching and probably intentional, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm not into that, especially because, it should be easier for people to operate, especially small businesses in the state. Like, it's shocking to me how difficult it is and how cumbersome it is to try and navigate having a small, low-income business, single employee, a SOHO, a single office, home office business.
Yeah.
That's how we categorize them in the business world. It's amazing how cumbersome that is, when it really should be such a simple matter.
It should be so much easier. And this is kind of where it goes from technology to, kind of the policy of it. In order for these apps and these services to survive and thrive, they need to be cheap. They need a low hurdle of adoption. And that comes with the cost. That's why Uber, you download that right away, because you can get a taxi right into town for $8. Yeah. I'm there, done. But when people... And this is both the government, this is people complaining about things. When people start complaining that they can't make a living wage off of driving for Uber, and that there needs to be legislation to make that be a your only job, it will go away. Yeah. It's the same thing with the minimum wage hike in some of these big cities like Seattle, jacked up its minimum wage, and companies just aren't going to hire people. So the job is going to be completely eliminated, and now you really can't earn a living wage off of that. Off of a job that you're not supposed to earn a living wage.
Did we plan this? Because that is a perfect segue to an email I got today from Ryan.
Awesome.
Okay. And so here's the link. So basically it's two links he sent me. And the debate, I'm just going to kind of give you the gist of what Ryan's saying here. But basically...
Thank you for the email, Ryan.
Thank you for the email, Ryan. TechYoutPodcast@gmail.com is where he sent it. If you want to be included, feel free to send an email there. Basically, I'm going to paraphrase because the email's a little long. But McDonald's has said...
brevity is the soul of wit, Ryan.
McDonald's has said that they're going to stop opposing or lobbying against an increase in the minimum wage.
Yep. Don't waste your money.
Don't waste your money. They're not going to fight it anymore. Yep. They're not interested. But also at the same time, and this is a second story,
I hope this is going where I hope they're taking that lobbying money and investing it in.
They're acquiring a company called Dynamic Yield, a startup based in Tel Aviv that provides retailers with a logarithmic-driven decision logic technology. When you add an item to an online cart, it's tech that nudges you about what other customers bought as well. Dynamic Yield reportedly has been valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars, blah, 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 blah. So, I think what Ryan is saying, and I think what kind of proves true between these two stories being right next to each other, is that, McDonald's is like, you know what, sure, raise the minimum wage.
Yeah, knock yourself out.
We'll just stop employing people.
Yeah, exactly.
We're done spending money, or at least we know now that we've acquired the technology to the point where we don't need it's more affordable for us to invest in these automation technologies than it is for us to fight your minimum wage increase.
Right. Which is they probably see the writing on the wall that that's a losing battle. And that company that McDonald's bought actually came in here, and we've had some conversations
Dynamic
with them.
Yield?
Yeah.
And we have another company that does that sort of thing for it.
But that is exactly what this is moving towards. So for the the single mom that's driving for Uber at the end of her shift, or while her kid's at soccer practice, or all the kind of those like in the commercial, like the
Well, that's kind of what I was doing. Like when I drove for Uber and Lyft, I got approved and just was like, hey, maybe I can just like cover my car payment on the weekend, right?
Yeah.
And so like Friday and Saturday night, I would just drive around for a few hours, and it was fine. I'd make $100 or something each night, and I'd drive for 3 or 4 hours. But for me, I never drove when it was like hot. Like when you really made money, because you got to be driving at like 1:30 to like,
Right.
and that's also when it's very dangerous to drive and when shitty shit happens. I would drive people going out, not coming home. And it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't, I don't know. I just wasn't.
Yeah. So that's what it's designed for. It's not designed for you to support your entire family doing just that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so stupid. It's so everybody gets a trophy mentality. It's just like a soft society where you're supposed to be guaranteed a livable wage. Like, what skills do you have?
Well, I think the issue is that, increasing the minimum wage doesn't net a minimum wage, right? And if anything, we're seeing with that technology is going to completely counter that notion, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be less people that are better paid, right? Like you're really kind of ostracizing yourself from the availability of a position. You know what I mean? You're making yourself obsolete.
Well, look at In-N-Out. They're a fast food chain that pays their employees a little bit more. They're happier. It's more successful or I shouldn't say it's more successful as a business because McDonald's is so huge. They, it's kind of not a fair comparison, but it's an example of a company that says we're going to do this differently. We're going to pay our employees a little bit more. They're happier. We have a better product as a result.
I wonder how margin rich In-N-Out is. That company, they're always busy. All of them.
Always busy. And they've simplified everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like someone like way smarter than us can probably show us why the financials of McDonald's are, like it's actually being run better.
Yeah,
but
it's
still just an example of the same industry, someone making the decision to pay somebody more versus being told by the government to pay somebody more. Because if McDonald's does not have their business set up around that model, they're just going to do what they're doing, and you're going to be ordering McDonald's from a kiosk. Just like when self-driving cars become a reality, you're going to be ordering a driverless Uber and not having some, a soccer mom, on her a couple hours during lunch driving you around.
Yeah, I think that's what's scary is I think people think that by arguing for things that's what they're going to get, and what they don't realize is that they are arguing themselves out of a position. You know what I mean? Like by saying Uber needs to pay more and give me healthcare, that does not mean you will get healthcare and more money. It means that Uber will no longer let you drive.
But dude, what is that mentality?
I mean,
honestly, what the hell is that mentality?
I understand I understand that mentality. I get what they're saying. It's the wrong argument. People have been coaxed into, and I think I think this happens at all tiers, right? But I think that the issue is people have been coaxed into this idea that like, and it's an American idea. It's a very old idea that it's like if I work hard, then I'm gonna be fine. Like everything, I'll be taken care of. It'll be fine, right? Like that's the base argument, right? Like in their head, and it's not the case. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's not the reality
I know.
of what's out there.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Like the two. I had this teacher in high school he was my science teacher, like AP Chem and like physics and stuff. Really smart guy, great teacher. But he always says if you need help understanding a concept, think about the extremes, and that'll help you, kind of navigate some of the nuance of the argument a little bit. And it applies to things that aren't science as well. So like the extreme of that mentality is, okay, so if you just work hard, then you should be guaranteed a happy, fulfilled life. You could go outside right now and then just start digging a hole. And you could be digging this hole for 8 hours a day all week, and you just keep digging for no reason. You're working really hard. You're working probably harder than we are. You're breaking a sweat. You're working harder than the guy doing roofing or something. But you're not providing any service.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't have any skill. That's not providing anybody with anything.
Yeah, I got in an argument with somebody on Reddit one time, and I can't remember what the topic was about, but really the premise this person was trying to make was that, if we were talking about something similar about labor, right? And basically, like if you're not doing an activity that is desirable or worth being paid for, then your work is really worthless.
Yeah, right.
At least as far as monetary value.
Yeah.
Maybe it has worth otherwise, but
Yeah.
And they were kind of making the statement that like if you want to be a carpenter and make whatever, like I can't remember what the example was, but make whatever you want, you know what I mean, and try and sell it on Etsy stores, like the world is under no obligation to compensate you for that. If people don't want that, then then you're making it for nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a supply and demand world. There's no demand, your supply is worth nothing.
Yeah.
And that includes labor, right? So people think of supply and demand as like, some term that only applies to like oil and baseball cards, right?
Yeah.
But
Widgets.
yeah, widgets, right? But it's really far more relevant to the workforce and to man hours versus versus like activities that need to be completed. And I'm a bit sympathetic to the fact that demand is going to dry up as more and more automation comes into this scenario. You know what I mean? That's just a reality. Like less truck drivers, less people taking your food orders. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily going to one-to-one replace these positions through like tech. Tech positions aren't going to just replace all of these positions. And I think that's a separate issue that we need to figure out a solution for. But the solution for that is not to drive the wedge in further and financially force these companies to adopt this technology, right? Like you can't tell these companies to not advance, no, you have to pay more. You have to have X amount of employees, right? So all you're really doing is displacing this workforce faster, right?
Yeah, and there are jobs that a robot really can't do.
Yeah.
Like if you're a plumber, how are you going to automate being a plumber? You're not. I mean, you can't have a robot walk in, assess the situation, tighten nuts. Like, I mean, it's just we're not anywhere near.
What if you had a robot plumber?
I don't know if robot plumbers are down the road, but the poster child of this argument happen to be two kind of industries where the biggest push for automation is, and that's food service, fast food service, and driving cars,
driving in general, trucking.
Yeah, just driving, trucking,
gig driving.
Things that the technology is at least at a place where it can be replaced. Can replace humans, but it's just what. The demand works both ways too. It's like the demand for the job, and I think there is a high demand for fast food type jobs, which drives the price of those the payment for those positions down. So if you're Seattle and you say, okay, well now we've got a $20 minimum wage, and you are, you own a McDonald's downtown, and now that guy that's, sitting there, like, gotta take your order. Now he gets paid $20 an hour for bringing no extra value to the company.
Yeah, and I think what's really sad is like the way to combat this isn't by doing what they're doing. It's encouraging people to have their own businesses, right? Like if you have worked at McDonald's for 20 years and you can manage that restaurant, you could have your own burger shop. You know what I mean? Like you could have a community little restaurant. Like you obviously have developed a skill set, right? You understand how this works. You understand food cleanliness laws and food service and customer service. Like, the overhead involved in running a McDonald's versus the overhead involved in having a small, place where you sell whatever, hot dogs and hamburgers or, coffees to business people, you know what I mean, in the morning, is so different that like you could supplement your income so quickly, you know what I mean, and get away from that $15, like get away from this mentality that like, no, like McDonald's needs to give me more, just go take more from the world. And I get that that's difficult, and what I'm saying is our governments and our governorship as a concept, right? The people that govern should make it easier for us as individuals to start our own businesses, to live our own dreams. You know what I mean? To pursue our own.
Which is a joke because they don't.
They don't at all.
They actively
prohibit.
suppress.
Yeah.
They actively suppress that. If you live in California, try to start a small business.
Especially a restaurant, right? Like especially a place where you serve food, because food service is a mess. And
try to be a hairdresser. Try to cut hair. They make you have to be licensed to cut somebody's hair.
Well, what's crazy is like I go to a hairdresser. She's like super popular, right? She's always booked out, but she has a big store she bought because she had other hairdressers that rented seats from her, right?
Which is a great it's a great model.
It's now against the law.
Oh, God damn it.
You know what I mean? And so now it's just her in this big office with 6 seats, you know what I mean? And it's like, she's run a successful business. She's an immigrant to this country. She came legally. She started a business. She earns a lot of money. She, provides. She's an essential member of society, right? And it's like, stop fucking with.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
but as a business owner, sounds like a successful business owner. She's in the evil top 5%.
Oh, for sure.
And in order for the government to pay all of the freaking jackasses that are bitching about working at McDonald's and not being able to support their family of 6, that the government is giving them money to subsidize their lifestyle. So they got to tax hairdresser girl out to kingdom come.
It's not even just them. Like the argument, we're getting completely into politics now, so we need to move on. But I will say this: the argument isn't like the lazy versus the hard worker, or like all her money goes to lazy people. All her money goes to a government that has no idea how to spend money. And
right.
That's the real...
Correct.
That's the real problem, right?
With misplaced compassion and I don't even want to call them lazy people, just entitled people. The guy that goes to this job at McDonald's, I am not saying that person's lazy. I'm just saying that you can't feel so entitled that you deserve a living wage for that job.
Yeah, but it's not misplaced compassion. It's like strategic... selective compassion, you know what I mean? Like
they want the votes.
Well, and they're under pressures to spend money in specific ways that are inefficient and devoid of logic. You know what I mean? And so they do, and that's what the business owner suffers from. That's what my hair lady suffers from, and that's what I'm saying is like our governorship as a whole, as a concept, needs to be more encouraging and less discouraging. Telling someone that they need a bigger minimum wage is like telling someone that you're still the lowest. We just need to make being the lowest better. You know what I mean? And instead we should tell people like, you don't need to be the lowest, right? Like you don't have to earn the minimum. Like you can do better than this. You could do better than this on your own. If McDonald's isn't taking care of you and treating you in a way that is befitting to your abilities and your intelligence, then we're going to help you we're going to help you show the world that you're worth more, right? But instead it's like, well, we'll just make them, you know?
Right.
And that's what's frustrating to me. And I think to be fair, I think a lot of these people that do work at McDonald's or whatever work very hard, are very intelligent people. They are not incapable. They're just continuing to be told they're incapable. You know what I mean? They're continuing to be told that like the government's going to make it better.
Yeah.
You're not really capable of more. So wait for us to force McDonald's to
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah. Don't worry. We'll get you your 20. We'll get you your raise.
Yeah, and I'm telling you,
didn't earn.
If you can cook 900 fucking hamburgers and run a register and order all the supplies for a fucking McDonald's
With a smile on your
with a
face.
smile on your face and not get mad when customers are assholes, you can run a restaurant. Like, you can own your own business. You can make a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, you can do these things.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, I'm getting way into the weeds now, but even starting this podcast, right? Which is not a big thing, right? It takes me a lot of time, but it's not a huge thing. You know, even doing that, I get it. Like, no one is encouraging you to do these things. You know what I mean? Like, it really took me just deciding, like, I want to do something. I'm going to do it. And this is a small thing.
Well, no one is encouraging you. I mean, when you put it like that, it's like people are encouraging us, of course, but
after the fact,
right?
You know?
But no one is giving it to you. No one says like, "Hey, here's your successful podcast on YouTube with 3 million views."
Here's the path to being wealthy through podcasting, right?
Yeah. So in my little corner, like I stream every week, 3 times a week, and I've done that for almost a year now, and it's for the purpose of learning how to fly at a less expensive rate, because I'm studying a lot more and being able to use the simulator to learn how to fly. But it's turned into this, this stream that people watch and subscribe to, and there's some small, tiny little bit of money coming in. But in the year that I've been doing this, I have seen people come in hot with all the overlays, with all the stuff and the transitions and the expensive add-ons and everything. And I've added kind of progressively to my stream, so it probably would, if you jumped into it now, you'd be like, oh, this guy's got all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
But I kind of built it over time. But it takes so much dedication and just continuing to do it until it. I mean, continuing to do it.
It drives me crazy when everyone's like, "Oh, I stream to nobody." And it's like, that's what streaming is.
And you know what? You may stream to nobody forever. You may have no viewers ever. This may not be your calling.
Yeah.
If you love doing it for the love of doing it, just do it. And who cares? And usually those are the kinds of people that do succeed, because people can tell that you just love doing it. Just like you with this podcast, like we could be recording this and sending it out to, honestly, I have no idea who listens to this.
I have no idea who listens to it. I get some metrics, but
the only reason,
and I don't believe them.
I am I feel the need to say, like, email us at techyeahpodcast@gmail.com is just to see if anybody responds.
I think it's fun getting emails.
It's really fun getting emails, but it's even more fun as, like, holy crap, someone was listening to us.
Yeah.
And, the fact that my mom tells me, like, hey, I listened to your podcast, or Julia says, hey, you guys had a good podcast. Like, that's the only real feedback that I get.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun than having someone comment.
Somebody random? Like, just the idea that anybody is listening to this that doesn't know us or just stumbled upon this and is listening to this blows my mind. Just like it blows my mind on my stream when I've got people in the UK and Belgium and South America and Australia. Like, it is amazing that I sit down, think of something, go, I'm going to use this emote. I'm going to make this emote, and I Photoshop it for an hour, and I post it, and then I have people spamming that or using it that I don't know these people. Mm-hmm. It's exhilarating, and it's really, really cool, but it's no guarantee. And in order to be the Shroud or the Dr. Disrespect or the H3 podcast or the Joe Rogan, like, in order to be those people, you have to just blindly do your best for as ever long as it takes, and it may never work.
You got to work at it.
You may never get there, but you just have to have the determination that you are not going to stop, no matter how long it takes you to stream to nobody.
And I think the thing that doesn't come up is the fact that like the thing you're doing by committing to like working at these things is like discipline, right? Like you're teaching yourself like through failure, through disinterest, through an audience that is apathetic. You're teaching yourself that like I can continue to move forward, right? Like I can continue to build these things despite despite all these hurdles and setbacks and the gloom outlook of it. You know what I mean? And by doing that, I think you are better at the things that are profitable, that do matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah, you don't get to just ride a magical beanbag chair up to the top, you know, in supreme comfort. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of failure. And being an athlete, I think, helped me in that, like just being in the gym, shooting free throws for hours.
An athlete, he says, guys. He said being an athlete.
It is. It does. Constant repetition, dealing with failure.
What NBA team do you play on?
I didn't quite make it to that position.
I was just wondering because you said you were an athlete, so I was just curious what team. Orlando Magic or something.
I was too good for the Magic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Utah Jazz.
It's too good for them too.
Oh. You'd be too good for the Lakers this year. That's for
Bullets.
Sure.
Yeah.
You'd be way too good for the Lakers.
Way too good for the Lakers.
Oh, man, honestly, we just did 42 minutes on that Uber story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. I have another email. I'm going to read it real quick, but
it's an interesting, while you're looking that up, it's an interesting topic because it's the intersection of like actual policy, not politics, but policy and technology. And there's going to, they're on a crash course right now.
They're on a crash course right now. It's such an interesting time.
Yeah.
This is from our old friend, Alec B. Hello, Tony and Bill. I want to say I really enjoyed the last episode of Tech Yeah.
Thank you. See, there's some positive feedback.
That's very positive. Like you guys discussed, the video game industry does appear to be moving towards subscription-based services. I can see why developers and publishers like subscriptions, and I can see many positives for consumers as well, both of which you talked about. Personally, I hate subscriptions. I like to have as few monthly bills as possible. I still like buying games and actually owning them. I still buy a physical copy when I can. Subscription gaming is cool, as a cool concept, and it certainly has its place, but there is still a market for people who don't want a subscription or can't afford it.
Yep.
Or who only buy games every now and then and want to actually purchase the game. I hope as they continue to move towards subscription services that we will keep the option to actually purchase a copy of the game. Your number one non-family related fan.
Did he really say that?
Alec B.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Oh my God.
And this kind of ties into another thing that came up, and I didn't pull up the story, but we can talk about it. And that is the big A, Apple, announced that they're going to have a game pass service. It's not a streaming service. I accidentally thought it was a streaming service initially, but it's for download. It's like a subscription service for mobile games, as well as a credit card they announced, a newspaper or a magazine service. A magazine service.
Yeah.
What is going on, Tim Cook?
Dude, the announcement that they made on the magazine service is so damn funny. He goes on, like, he's selling magazines. It was a magazine sales pitch.
I know, because I've sold magazines in middle school when I was trying to go to summer camp.
The guy who runs Apple, one of the biggest tech companies in the history of the world, is selling freaking print magazines. It's hilarious sounding. He's like, magazines is where, more in-depth interviews can happen, and you could, profiles of the biggest people in the. You're just like, dude,
have you guys read Maxim? It's got tits, but not like porno tits.
Like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, at this point, the New York Times is a website that they print for some reason a day later.
Yeah, I have no idea why anyone prints a magazine now. It boggles my mind.
But okay, so let me address Alec's concern about hard copy games going away, because I think if you're self-aware of technological advancement, you have to be comfortable with a world where discs do not exist.
It's coming.
It is going to happen. It's already starting to happen. PC gaming 20 years ago, you would go to, a Best Buy or an Office Max or whatever the hell, and you would buy a hard copy of The Sims, and you would bring it home and you would install it on your, or whatever. Or you would go and get a floppy disk. And every time one of these technologies phases out, everybody looks at the current state and says, well, how are you going to deal with X? How are you going to deal with this thing? How are you going to, we're going to miss this. I can't live without whatever. When CDs came out, it's, well, what happens if you scratch it? I liked being able to record onto tapes. It skips if you go over a bump on the road. There's all these downsides to some of this technology seemingly in the moment, but it's going to happen. So right now saying I want to go to the store and get a physical disc is like these damn kids with their radios.
I feel like I'm going to be like the vinyl guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like games.
But not even the vinyl, but that's a different thing. You're like, when vinyl got phased.
There's tape guys.
I know, but being that guy is different than being I liked my Walkman with the cassette tape.
That's what I mean. There's cassette tape guys too.
Yeah, but I
I've
retro.
never met a CD guy.
I know there's retro. I know there are people that like retro gaming. I know there's people that still like to listen to records. I'm not talking about that guy.
No, there's cassette tape guys.
I know, but that's nostalgia guy. That's different from the majority of people in the moment transitioning to a new technology.
I think they're just like Guardians of the Galaxy, those cassette tape guys.
I love that soundtrack.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
got the old Sony Walkman.
But yeah, I'm not talking about nostalgic hipster. I'm cassette tape guy. I'm CD guy. I'm record guy. I'm talking about how are people with email.
Mm-hmm.
Email is
dying.
Well, I mean, it is dying. But think about the progression of email. You go from how do I make sure that this person gets it? Or how, I like having to write it out, and, I'm not going to know anyone's address anymore. And it was so much fun getting mail, walking out to the mailbox.
Still is fun.
It still is fun. But then people, started like, okay, well, now email is way more efficient. It's quicker. It's faster. It's better. Everything's great. So now everyone adopts email, and it's, snail mail is dying. Now we're moving again towards everyone just texting each other, and people aren't really sending emails like they were before. And people are like, I kind of miss getting emails, and you'd have pictures attached to it, and you can write a nice little note and whatever. And then it's less informal, and the language is you punctuate it and stuff. It's the natural progression of new technology. You're resistant to the change.
Well, I think too, specifically with games, it's like, we've kind of already made the leap, right? Like really buying a game disc is kind of a myth. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you get a disc and yeah, there's stuff on it, but the reality is it's not a playable game. You know what I mean? Like, it needs downloads, it needs day one patches, it needs to connect to the online service to function. You're really just kind of buying into a placebo that's telling you that you own this thing, but the reality is it probably won't work. You know what I mean? In 10 years, if you try and pop in your Destiny CD, it's gonna be nah, that ain't flying.
Yeah. Because that's all the crap that we want. We want day one patches because we don't want the game broken.
Well, I don't know. That's not really. They didn't used to have day one patches, and that means that they had to develop games in a way where they were gold, and they were more complete when they went gold.
Right, and I don't mean we want to put in a CD and it's broken and we have to download a fix, but I mean we want day one patches in that we want the game to continue to improve. We want the game to be good and ironed out at that time. So it's all because the market is demanding all of this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm actually surprised we don't see more like indies or like single player games sell like I could see them selling like special like updatable like flash drive versions of the game. Like you plug in a USB in it, and you can download the updates to it, and if you want to use it later, because USB will be around for a long time. If you want to use it later, you could plug it into a USB hub in 10 years and still load the game from that USB hub. Just because it's because if you buy it on Steam, or even if you buy a hard copy, it might not, that DVD's never going to get patched. Whatever you load from that DVD is what's on the DVD, and that could be completely broken or unusable in its current state.
It's just habit. All it is just habit. Companies are still printing discs because the majority of people, or maybe not even the majority, but a large enough section of people buying that particular product have a habit of going to the store.
Well, and it's merchandising too. You know what I mean? Like, you put Call of Duty on a disc because you want to have a target end cap because you sell a lot of those.
Exactly. It's being supported by the market.
Yeah, because moms are like, oh, my son likes to murder people in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And it's his birthday next week. I'll get him this new one. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of it is that type of purchase, that impulse purchase that it drives.
Yeah, same with music CDs. Like, when was the last time you bought a CD?
Yeah, no.
Like, it's
amazing that
it's been years.
I'm amazed they exist.
Yeah,
truly.
And Alec, that would be my retort to your question. Is just like, when was the last time you bought a CD? Why do CDs exist at the store?
Yeah,
like, you don't need them.
Alex real vintage though.
But you don't personally.
His name is AMX77.
He's he does like vintage stuff. He probably has an 8-track.
I bet he does.
One of his Hornets.
A Whitesnake 8-track.
Yeah. So you don't use CDs. You don't buy CDs. You download your music. You stream your music. That is a shift in buying habits that we have adopted. Like me and you, probably Hornet, probably most of the people listening to this have not bought a CD in a long time. But they still exist. So why does it exist?
Yeah.
Because enough people buy it. And when that number becomes too little to support the actual production of it, it'll stop happening. It will go away.
I really meant to use this to roll into Apple, but I guess we'll talk about the obsolescence.
Well, but it's kind of, but that's,
physical media.
But that is like Apple's identifying the shift in buying habits. They noticed it with CDs, and they were actually the ones that kind of caused that shift away from the hard discs with iTunes.
The Zune, bro.
And being able to download.
How dare you undersell the importance of the Zune?
So you're telling me
the Zune HD.
You're telling me when the new Katy Perry song came out, you didn't go to iTunes and buy it for 99 cents, as opposed to going to Sam Goody.
I went to the Zune store
and buying
it
for buying the single for $3.50.
I went to Rhapsody, all right, and I got my copy of Katy Perry.
What was the Columbia House?
Yeah, I went to Columbia House. I got 12 CDs for $1, and then I owed them like $600 over the next year. I don't know why. I don't know how it happened. No, but I agree, and I think
they innovated that. I mean, they innovated the death of CDs, of physical CDs.
In a sense, I mean, I don't think it was all them, but I think what really did was the oncoming influx of smartphones and smart devices. I mean, I think even in the iPod era, people had CDs because they used them in their cars and stuff. Once we all had aux out smartphones, it was just like, good night. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what phone you had. But
it was their innovations that facilitated the ongoing killing of that.
I didn't know you were a Apple fanboy.
I love Apple.
I didn't realize.
But I also hate Apple.
Fanboy. I've been playing MP3s off my phone a long time before iPhones came out. Okay, buddy.
Me too.
Okay, buddy.
Dude, I had mini discs going, dude.
Okay, bro.
I was mini disking it up before that stupid iPod came out.
I had like a Trio and stuff before that. I was really into like Palm and like like all the Windows devices. But yeah, so check it out.
I mean, the real constraint. I don't think we've talked about the bandwidth constriction
I'm
for
trying to talk
actually.
about Apple again, and you keep.
Well, I am. I am talking about. I am talking about Apple.
Apple.
But we've talked about the bandwidth restriction on being able to stream games, and Apple it's more of a subscription for buying. I mean, it's basically if you had a monthly fee for Steam and you could just buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
And that is where console gaming, I think, is going to go before we get to some crazy network streaming capabilities.
That's what Xbox is kind of doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we probably have talked about it on this podcast, if not on the stream, where it's going to come down to physical storage on the device, and if you put a 10 terabyte SSD into a Xbox to download some crazy 4K game library, that's where it's going to, and maybe mass storing that on a cloud service and pulling them in, and that's going to be another one of those pain points where it's like, well, I have all these games on the cloud, and what if I want to play it right now? Well, you got to download it, and it's going to take an hour, and you'll be able to play it in an hour, and you'll forget about it. Then that time's going to shrink, and then we're going to, hey, remember we had to download games and wait for them to come from the cloud?
That's kind of what Steam is, I think Steam is kind of the best example of
Steam is a great example
what the future will look like.
Yeah, but just think of that potential, like, well, that's going to be really annoying to have to download from the cloud. Well, yeah, you know what else is freaking annoying? Having to drive to the GameStop and deal with that jackass who wants to get paid $20 an hour to sell you some crappy game that you're going to hate.
I do hate GameStop. I mean, it's faster than downloading sometimes, but I really hate GameStop.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. I mean, that's why Uber Eats exists and why HelloFresh exists, and these come because we're just getting increasingly lazy and more reliant on these technology convenience boosters. Like it's gonna be fine. Like, Alec, it's gonna be fine. You're not gonna miss your game box.
You've got a long time of still buying physical media.
Yeah,
if
you
want the
can
game
do
box,
it.
Well, I'm just saying, if you want the game box, you've got at least another generation or two where they will sell you game boxes. Not for every game, but at least for big games.
But you're not going to miss it when it finally does go away.
Yeah,
is my point.
You're not going to miss it because it's gonna act exactly the same.
Yeah. And you're going to look back going like, oh my God, can you believe, like our jokes about Columbia House. Like, you're going to be making jokes about buying physical. Remember when we bought physical game? Like, I had to buy a GTA 4 disc. I stood in line at GameStop at midnight to buy a GTA 4 disc, and I put it in the thing. Do you remember the sound it made when it spooled up? Like, all that crap. We're going to make fun of that.
I don't know. I think there will still be those types of experiences. We'll see how long it lasts. I do think it'll last for a while. I think
cartridges. Like, we make fun of blowing on the cartridge.
Well, but Nintendo still has cartridges.
Yeah, well, that's true.
You
But
know
it's,
what I mean?
yeah, but it's more of your USB type of packaging.
That's what I mean. The media may change, but selling a product in a store will exist for quite some time, is what I'm saying.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of my point. Like, there will still be a box.
Or and if it's not a box, if it's not a physical thing, it'll be a card with a code on the back of it. Like we see now, and that exists.
Actually,
now.
Sony is banning that from happening.
Are they really?
Sony's no longer going to provide game cards with codes to retailers anymore. I think it's because so many get sold in the gray market.
Yeah.
And you can just buy PlayStation like dollars if you want to buy it and buy it from the eShop.
Yeah.
So they're eliminating that from that just actually dropped last week.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, they'll come up with, if it makes sense and it's going to make them money, they will come up with a way to do that. Like a battery powered card, and you put your thumbprint on there, and you biometrically scan yourself into your PSN account. Yeah. They'll come up with some other alternative that's going to leverage foot traffic and those end caps with, a non-physical media.
So, Alec, discs aren't dead yet. Don't worry.
Don't worry about it, dude.
All right. So, I couldn't get Bill back on track to talk about Apple, but that's okay.
Yay, Apple.
But that's going to do it for us, actually. That's been an hour. It's going to be a little bit shorter today, but you want to reach out to us? Tech Yeah Podcast at Gmail. Tech Yeah Podcast on Facebook. Tech Yeah Podcast on Twitter. That's it, actually. That's all we got.
That's all of them.
Oh, no. We got a YouTube channel, too. Tech Yeah Podcast.
YouTube.com/Tech
That doesn't work. They don't give you a custom URL for a while.
Oh, really? Oh, we have to have like 50 subscribers or something?
I think it's more. I think it's a lot, actually, for a custom URL on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. YouTube's kind of shiesty. But thank you guys for listening.
YouTube.com/JX52586.
Just search Tech Yeah Podcast. You'll see it. We appreciate everyone listening. We love you guys.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate all the feedback from our family and non-family.
Yeah,
listeners.
you the best. And send us some more emails. We love talking about them, obviously. I couldn't get Bill to stop.
You usually can't. Tech Yeah. Love
I've
you
never
guys.
been able to. Love you guys.